Getting pulled over by the police is quite rare these days, but what actually happens if they stop you and you don't have your documents with you? In England and Wales, you are normally expected to produce your driving licence, insurance and MOT details when asked, but if you don't have them with you, it doesn't automatically mean you're in trouble. Usually you'll be given 7 days to produce them at a police station, the old producer. But there are circumstances where failing to prove things such as insurance or registration can put your vehicle at risk of being impounded. Documents aren't the only issue. Police also have powers to stop and search, so later we'll look at when they need reasonable suspicion and when they don't. Living on the road, Waterways or off-grid in the UK, Dickie Dread. This is part 50 of the video series, and this is the first part in chapter 7, police treatment. So we'll start off with a short introduction to the chapter and then I'll move on to the first section. So let's face it, I'm not sure I've ever met a traveller that has not had some kind of run-in with the law. Most day-to-day interactions are routine, but problems tend to arise when visibility, complaints or perceived risk increase. Personally, I've been busted multiple times, had drug charges, evictions, drunken disorderly charges, a drunk driving ban, assault charge, and may have spent many nights in cells that I care not to remember. And I don't consider myself one of the extreme cases. I've experienced old Bill lying and had the odd kicking off them. Perhaps the worst thing I ever saw was a copper hit a pram on purpose whilst a terrified mum fled a riot squad charge in Stonehenge 1988. So they are not always going to play ball, but the more clued up you are, the better. You probably can't win this game, but you can at least make it a draw. So, getting pulled over. Sorry, I'm a bit emotional about that scene. When pulled over by old Bill, which is quite rare these days. In fact, I don't think I've been pulled over for tens of years now. The time you have to produce your documents, such as driving licence, registration or insurance, depends on your location and the specific circumstances of the stop. In England and Wales, you are usually expected to produce your driving licence, insurance and MOT details when asked. If you do not have them with you, you are normally given 7 days to produce them at a police station. In some cases, you can risk your vehicle being impounded if you don't prove registration or insurance. The modern computerised system has largely closed that loophole, and giving false details can now create separate offences in its own right. Shame. Used to be so much fun making up names, and most older New Age travellers had heard of the infamous Boris and Doris. Police also have powers to stop and search. Under Section 1 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984, they need reasonable suspicion. Under the Misuse of Drugs Act 1971, we will cover drugs a lot more later, drug searches are common. In designated areas, Section 60 of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act 1994 allows searches without suspicion. These powers are widely used and often form the first point of contact. For van dwellers in towns and cities, stops are more likely to be linked to parking, vehicle condition, insurance or complaints rather than encampments, but the same documents and search powers apply. Now, there's one thing I'm just going to note here, that a very common way of getting pulled over, a very common way of having your vehicle searched after you're pulled over is that also they smell cannabis. They cannot, by their own rules and by the law, they cannot search you on that alone. There has to be something else. So ask if they say it smell cannabis, get out the vehicle, or we need to search your vehicle. You need to ask them what other points they have. Anyway, so getting pulled over doesn't necessarily mean you've done anything wrong, but you need to understand what old Bill can ask you for, what you're expected to produce, and what powers they have if they decide to search you. If you're trying to live differently, this isn't just about getting stopped on the road, it's about understanding how the system works before you discover it the tough way. In the next video, we'll look at a question that matters even more when your vehicle, boat or patch of land is also your home. Can the police enter your site or home?